good Tuesday morning. We are back. Yes, this is our real new year, the Tuesday after Labor Day. It is also the 16th year of Boomer Esiason here in mornings on WFAN. You and Craig started the Tuesday after Labor Day 2007. It is 2022 right now. You've been churning all these years. So we'll start there before we get to the sports. Good morning, Boomer, and congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. And Al and Eddie have been with me since the beginning. Well, Eddie was around, but he didn't start with me at the beginning. But Al did. And then we had to work Jerry in there for a while, after a while. And it was a beginning that, nobody thought it was going to last 6 months, let alone 16 years.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a lot of, consternation, if you will, about whether or not a former athlete would get up every morning and do this show.
Oh, of course.
And then, do it with a guy that he had never worked with before, but who was basically a loudmouth, as he wrote about in his book. And certainly we found our rhythm about 6 months in, and it was a quick 10 years for sure. And it's now been an even quicker 6 years with you, or really 5 years with you. But I sat back and I thought about it last night.
Sure.
I was thinking about, I'm going to come in tomorrow morning and announce my retirement. Screw this. No, I wasn't going to do that.
God.
No, but it just flew by, and I remember when we first started, the Mets had a 7-game lead with 17 to go.
Oh, that's right.
And all Craig and I were talking about was the Met pitching. And then we all know how that turned out. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I feel like I'm in the throes of that right now, because I don't. I think the Mets, have been a really good team. They've had special moments this year. The Braves got this close earlier in the year. They pulled away again. Unfortunately, the Mets didn't get a chance to play yesterday and try to get a win and get some of the stink out of their mouths from losing 2 out of 3 to Washington. But nonetheless, 16 years, it's been great. It's been absolutely great. And every morning, getting up and doing this job, while it can be fatigue set in, but it's still great to be able to talk about the things first, if you will, the next morning after a lot has happened. Now, you and I have been gone for about 10 days, and a lot has happened in those 10 days.
Right, exactly. Now, you came in here before we started the show, and you're throwing around the C word, collapse, with both of these teams.
I was messing around.
And I really hope you don't believe that. But, yes, a lot has happened, Yankees, Mets. And this is our, of course, best time of year. Some people say April when baseball starts, and you have like March Madness going on there, and you got the hockey and the basketball and all that. To me, it's September and October, because we have football, real football on Thursday night as well, and then we'll get the Jets and Giants after that. But it's really about the Mets and Yankees, and where, to me, the Yankees are more so than what the Mets have been doing, because this Yankee team is just completely dead. I don't care that they beat the Twins. They always beat the Twins. This team has got no life, no juice at Aaron Judge. Think about this. This team has played...
No juice out of Aaron Judge?
No, outside of Aaron Judge. Outside of Aaron Judge. Think about this. This guy is going to be, most likely, the first clean player to hit 60 home runs, and barely anybody talks about it because the team has been so bad. And that's been the bigger story. The bigger story has been the Yankees have completely fallen off the face of the earth, and despite what this guy is doing, this should be the biggest story in baseball. We fell in love with the whole McGuire, Sosa, Bond stuff, and I understand nobody had done it in years and years and years, but we found out that that was all fraudulent. This guy is doing it clean. He could hit over 60 home runs. He could break the Maris record. He would be the guy that we would look at to hold that record, and barely anybody talks about it except for a little graphic that pops up on the broadcast when he hits a home run.
Well, and the other thing too is that when he hits home runs, he looks like Mark McGuire. Like the beauty of the swing, and the one that he hit yesterday was unbelievable. And then he leads off the game in Tampa with one. I mean, it's just, he has been on fire the last 8 or 9 games. I mean, it's just been ridiculous. So when you take a look at most home runs in 135 games, Aaron Judge is third on that list behind Barry Bonds, 57 in 2001, 57 in 1999. And then, of course, Aaron right now has 54. So he's tied with Mark McGwire and Babe Ruth. So there's two guys on that list that aren't implicated in the steroid scandal.
Right. Babe Ruth and Aaron Judge.
It's unbelievable.
But what are we talking about more with the Yankees? Isaiah Kiner-Falefa stinks. Josh Donaldson stinks.
Okay.
The bullpen. That's all we're talking about with the Yankees.
I just want to remind everybody that, I think we talked about this before we left, and it was about how when September came around, towards the middle of September, there was going to be this influx of players coming back to the Yankees. Yep. And that still is hanging out there. Like, they're going to get an influx of a lot of their injured players back. When you look at their injured list and the amount of money that they have on their injured list, I mean, then all of a sudden now comes into play the Stanton numbers, the Donaldson numbers, the Gleyber Torres numbers, the Aaron Hicks numbers. And you look at those four guys and you go, oh, my God, this is why this team is not winning. But then again, you realize that they're missing Chapman, Britton, Severino, Chad Green, Benintendi now, Castro. Actually, he's been back. Well, Miguel Castro we're talking about. Harrison Bader, Matt Carpenter, who was having a second life here. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the I would say, impetus for them being as good as they are. Look at how Rizzo's missing. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're missing basically a third of their team. So there is a reason why they are losing. And I know that when you lose and Donaldson doesn't run out a double and gets thrown out at second base, I mean, it looks bad. And then, then the next thing, they show him at third base laughing. I mean, it's a disgrace. I mean, your team is losing and you're sitting there getting thrown out at second base, and then the next thing you see, you're at third base and you're laughing.
And this was a guy that was supposed to change who the Yankees were. He was going to be a catalyst with this offense. He's been nothing but a disappointment.
I've said for 16 years, I'm not a Yankee fan, but I do respect certain players that play the game right, and that's why I've always been a like everybody else around here, a Jeter fan and a Jeter supporter. Same thing for Aaron Judge. I think he plays the game the right way. He looks right. He plays it right. He's got the smile. He carries himself. Like, if I were a Yankee fan, that's the way I'd want my player to carry himself. Mm-hmm. This Josh Donaldson has had, ups and downs all over the place, and he was brought here to solidify third base and add offense. And then if you're jacking around and you're, getting the problems with, the White Sox picture earlier in the year, and then now, you get thrown out at second base, and then the next thing I see you laughing at third base. And I'm listening to the guys doing the game, Michael Kay and Maven.
Cameron Maven.
Yeah, Maven called him out.
Yeah.
And thank God somebody called him out.
Right.
I mean, because, is Aaron Boone going to say,
no, he's not.
See, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I hate doing this.
But you're going to do it anyway.
But I have to do it.
Yeah.
You know how they always say, this is what George would do. This is what George would do.
Yeah.
I bet you that if Billy Martin were the manager of the New York Yankees, that he would have pulled Donaldson off the field.
Do you think that there's any manager in baseball right now, though, that would do it? Because that's the bigger question. We're talking 30, 40 years ago.
I know. This is
would Buck have done that?
No.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have done it.
Maybe 20 years ago he would have, but not now, because it's player empowerment. I mean, it's embarrassing.
I mean, I don't even know if Aaron Boone's going to talk to him about it. Does he even talk to him about it?
Aaron, remember, is probably close in age to Donaldson, and Donaldson, he's a little bit of a loopy guy anyway, and supposedly edgy, this is why he's always on these different teams. But that actually, watching the game yesterday, that pissed me off.
Well, sure, it pissed off all Yankee fans too, especially with the year that he's having. I mean, he really hasn't warmed up to this fan base at all.
I wish I had him in here. I'd say, look, Josh, you got to get your head out of your ass. You really do. You got to start playing.
Sure.
Like, the $23 million we're paying you, and you got to show up, and you got to be a leader. You can't be some sort of,
dipwad.
Yeah, I got other words I could use, but that it bothers me. It really, that kind of stuff bothers me because it looks bad, and Yankee fans deserve more. Like, they sell out almost every game.
Sure, of course. I mean, a lot of people bought tickets to this time of the year when the Yankees were flying, and now they're showing up and watching a team that is crawling to the finish line.
So I just gave you, F. Ross is on that list. He's working out. Meredith gave her injury update yesterday, and Michael Kay is, Yankee fans, don't worry about it. They're going to be okay. It's got all these injured guys. This is one of the reasons why this team looks like it does. I still think that, though, when you take a look at those four individual players that I talked about, those players haven't been carrying their load offensively. And IKF is making $4 million. He's here because they're trying to move money around, trying to save money, and trying to, have money available for Aaron Judge. That's why he is here in the first place. That's why they didn't go after Seager. That's why they didn't go after Correa. Yeah. That's why they didn't go after any of those guys.
I know, but he represents the cheaper Yankees. Him being there.
But if this team wasn't as banged up as it is, nobody would even be talking about it. Now, I know he's had bad.
But he's been starting the entire year. It's not like he's an injury replacement.
But do you remember in the beginning of the year we were talking about, hey, he looks okay. He looks like he's going to be
fine. Everybody looked okay in the beginning of the year.
But it's 162 games, and there's going to be ups and downs, there's ebbs and flows. And I think, if you ask me, none of this matters until they get to October.
But the problem is this team right here, and I know that they're going to get a little bit healthier, but this team right here is not winning in October. Not in the American League. The National League's tougher.
Not with the guys that they have on the injured
list.
But
this team, even if they come back, you really believe that this team's going to turn back into the team that we saw in April, May, and June? There's no way.
But all I know is that going through what they've gone through and how bad they've been since the All-Star break, the only thing that I can tell you is that it's all about October with them anyway. That's the one caveat that I would say. And the other thing, too, is, you got Stanton gets hurt again. This guy has had 1 year here, and he's had one playoff run. Mm-hmm. That's it. And when you think about his MVP season, I think it was, 17 or 16, whatever the hell it was, and you think of where he's been for the Yankees, it's not only that he's not producing, it's like he's not even playing.
Yeah, there's been a lot of games, of course, where we've never really seen him at his full potential outside of the two times that you mentioned. He did carry him in the postseason for a while and did carry him offensively in that one regular season. But yeah, so the X-rays were negative yesterday after fouling the ball off his legs. So hopefully
Was he out for 3 weeks
now?
No,
I don't think so. He's got to be back in the lineup. He's just got to be back in the lineup. This guy can't miss any more time.
It's amazing. Like when you think about the amount of money that they are spending at the top of their salaries and who they're spending it on, and knowing that Aaron Judge if he stays here, it's going to be more than almost all of those guys.
Yeah.
He'll be making more than probably $36 million a year.
Yeah, and how this season ends up shouldn't have anything to do with keeping Aaron Judge or not. Like if you go and you win a World Series or you're out immediately, they still have to keep him. It doesn't mean anything, the result of this season. You cannot let him walk at any point. Whether it's the San Francisco Giants or Steve Cohen gets involved and pays him $50 million or whatever the hell it is, you cannot lose him. And Hal Steinbrenner has to know that, because that would be one of the worst business decisions that the Yankees have ever made in their history if they let him go.
With the amount of money they got spent and the amount of money that both the Yankees and the Mets will have to spend next year on free agents and trying to retain their own players.
Yeah.
And you heard Steve Cohen say this over the last week. Look, I got to walk into the room with these other MLB owners. I'm a part of a business,
mm-hmm.
and I got to be legitimate and realistic about what I'm spending. And essentially, I'm putting words in his mouth. But he talked about the threshold of that $300 million.
Sure.
And I don't necessarily know that Met fans wanted to hear that at that moment.
Well, no, but I do think that he's not going to be held back if he believes that move that's going to put him over that threshold is going to have the team in a better chance to win a World Series. He's not going to spend frivolously, but he's not going to be held back. At some point, he'll be like, all right, how much is this going to cost me? An extra $40 million it's going to be spent to the rest of the baseball. He'll do it if he thinks that's going to put him in a better spot. He will.
Yeah.
He bought this team to win, and he said it himself. In the next 5 years, he's got to see a championship. And you're telling me that money's going to be the thing that holds him back from that? This guy, the richest owner in baseball? Absolutely not. I don't know if he's going to, give $50 million or more to Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani. I don't know if he's going to do that. But he'll be in play for those guys.
I guess he will be in play for him. But, for them, for the Mets, I think this was more of a total letdown. Losing 2 out of 3 to Washington.
But it really hasn't happened all year long where they've lost that series to a terrible team. So,
right.
This is, and you think about the schedule now. If you want to do a boomer 13-game stretch, the teams that they are playing, with the Pirates, the Marlins, the Cubs, the Marlins again. I mean, this is it. Now, I know that you just lost 2 out of 3 of the Nationals, but there's no excuses now.
But remember, I also told you that, Dave, before we left, I said this is the stretch run.
Yeah.
And I think we said something like, what did we say, like 24-8 or something like that? Or,
yeah.
Because we were looking at the schedule. And again, we could do that. We're media guys. That's what we do.
Media guys, yeah.
But in real life, the players were flat. They were flat, and the pitching was horrific. And, you have, Scherzer again taking himself out of the game. And, I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, my God, Jesus, God, we're paying you $43 million and you're unfreaking comfortable.
He's been great, though.
Yeah, but, again, for these guys, for him and DeGrom, it really comes down to October. That's really what it comes down to. They're just trying to get to October.
Well, I mean, they have to win the division. They have to be one of the 2 top seeds to get the bye through the wild card round. I mean, that has to happen. With this season that they're having, anything less than that is a humongous disappointment. Now, you could still get to the World Series at a different route, but if the Braves overtake them, and there's still 1 series left with the Braves, by the way, in Atlanta later in September, so that's going to be unbelievable, the drama that we'll have for that. But I'm willing to let this one slide with the Nationals because of the way that they have played. I mean, this is by far the best regular season that I have seen ever from a Mets team, so that they're going to drop 2 out of 3 from the Nationals. Now, if they end up, splitting with the Pirates or whatever it ends up being, or losing 2 out of 3 to the Pirates and then, splitting with them again, the Pirates again, not the Marlins again.
7 games left with the Pirates.
I mean, you got to be 7-0 against them. You have to.
You have to be.
Yeah, just that they're so bad. And not that the Nationals are any good, but they are so bad that it has to happen. Now, there's going to be a doubleheader on Wednesday. And as Al has told you, 50%, it's always no, not 100%, it's always a split. That's right.
Come on, Al. It's
100%.
It's not always a split, Al.
100%. If you look at Elias Sports Bureau, 100%.
And if you look at the Pirates lineup and you look at their pitching staff, this is like a minor league team.
Yeah, they are. No, they are.
I mean, come on, man. And, maybe a day off did the Mets some good, and
all the beat
back.
writers and Howie Rose were bitching all day long out there because apparently the weather was good enough to play.